No Socks. We're here with Luke Bosnick,
The mastermind behind Saffron Moore, Sabrina Limhow.
With our lovely guest, Sherry. Dom Brinkley with us today.
Cami Cole.
Hello, glad to be here.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the No Socks podcast. I'm Jeremy, joining us today as our special guest, Louise Gaul, and our regular hosts, Pat and Kate.
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome. Welcome to you, Louise.
Thank you.
It's very nice to have you here. Firstly, the question that we always ask every single time, how was your journey here today?
It was really nice.
Yeah.
It was chill. I got to just listen to some albums.
That's very nice.
It was very nice.
Yeah.
I liked it.
What were you listening to?
I can't tell you because I'm embarrassed, but it's to do with Broadway.
Okay.
Oh, you're a theatre kid.
Yeah.
I was actually listening to your EP on the way here, and I just was adoring it again because I absolutely just love listening to it, like just in its entirety, just sitting down and like listening to it and be like, wow. Like it's just so great to just listen to and hear. We'll talk a bit more about that later. We'll start off today's episode by just kind of like talking about what's brought you on your musical journey and how did you get here? Yeah,
Okay.
So we'll start with your today journey. We're now moving on to your musical journey.
Yep.
Yeah. How'd you start?
Started pretty young. I had a brother who played piano and I wanted to copy him. So he was a bit older than me. So I started piano at 4. Fingers were too little to play, so it was just lots of theory to start with, but I think that made me really enjoy the theory aspect of stuff.
Okay.
And then started singing lessons when I was a teenager. And yeah, that was sort of, I guess, the music lesson side of the journey, but just had a household that always played music and had music going. Yeah.
Yeah, is there, I guess, was it, when you first laid hands on, keys, is that something that you like, did it just immediately spark going like, this is kind of what I wanted, like, I guess,
No,
pursue?
I think I just found joy in it as a kid. I don't really remember much of like my first experiences playing, but I did love it. I did just look up to my brother a lot, so I wanted to copy him. And then he quit, and I kept going. And now I'm better than him.
Oh, no. What were you listening to at the time? This is what I
When I
always
was a
just
kid,
love to know.
just like really white 80s rock, because it was just whatever my parents were playing at the time, and they were just like, that stuff.
Do you not enjoy it now?
I do, but I'm now very aware of how white it was. It was just a very white household, but it still gave me a lot of love for pop and popular music at the time. So yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing though to listen to that kind of.
Of course,
like,
of course.
But
it just wasn't very diverse. So yeah.
I'll tell you,
Yeah, I mean,
what's not very diverse is me constantly listening to the country pop songs about, I'm gonna drive my truck, I'm gonna take a drink of whiskey,
Absolutely.
kiss my girl.
Yeah.
The Bo Burnham like song.
Yeah, something like that.
About a
Yeah.
tractor and doing something in the pants, but yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Censorship.
Would you say you're still very influenced by pop music today?
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
pop music. Like the degree I did was specialised in pop music. I had the teenage phase of just like, oh no, I don't listen to pop. And now I'm just like shameless. I love mainstream. I think it's such a, it's a well-oiled machine,
Yeah.
you know?
Are you a Swiftie?
I'm absolutely a Swiftie, yeah.
Great. This is great. Miss Dr. Taylor Allison Swift. We adore her.
When you had your, I guess, is it fair to say it's sort of the music snobbery phase that everyone goes through?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What was the music that you were listening to during that phase?
Damien Rice.
Damien Rice, yes.
Who I absolutely adore, as you know, still. But yeah, that was always number one like throughout my teens, biggest influence. Yeah.
What? How did you come across that?
A teacher showed me, my music teacher.
Okay.
He was like, when I was first sort of really trying to get into songwriting and stuff, and taking it a bit more seriously.
Yeah, right.
I just went through a period of just not being able to write anything. I was just a little bit uninspired, and he gave me the Blower's Daughter to listen to, and I went and listened to the full album and just like fell in love with it.
Sorry, I forgot. What was your favorite song though
Of which album?
I guess let's just say from every album.
Volcano.
Volcano.
Yeah,
okay.
Volcano just still resounds with me today.
Can't
so like
sing it,
aggressive and it's nice.
Do you ever listen to the demo versions?
Yeah, and the live version. Have you listened to
yeah.
So good. Yeah.
Just reminds me of like Nine Crimes as well.
Highly
like,
recommend.
Yeah, he has like some of the most like just. He's just like if you just search it up. If you want to hear, I guess like acoustic pop, Irish folk pop sort of thing, it just has like some of the most raw performances. Especially when he was in like the I guess I think it was this sort of rehearsal studio called I think the Basement, I think.
I can't remember.
I don't know, and it's just him just at a piano and he's just playing a bunch of songs. And it was funny because if you're familiar with Rootless Tree, there's when he's playing, I guess he's playing power chords, right? And so that song, like in the chorus, is just him like swearing "F you."
He's just screaming it over and over again. It's awesome.
And it's just funny because when his hands are just like he just keeps the middle finger up the whole time as he's playing through, and it's like, wow, now that I know after I've watched that. But yeah, no.
Artistry.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I haven't really ever met anyone who actually has like listened to Damien Rice, at least where I grew up. So it's just like, yes, someone actually does actually like their music
religiously.
in Australia. Someone actually loves. Yeah.
We love the podcast that brings people together.
So if your teacher showed Damien Rice to you when you were in a songwriting rut, you said, who actually inspired you to start songwriting, or did you?
I don't know. I used to play around with like little melodies and stuff growing up on piano and things like that. It was probably just like getting a little bit of validation when people, when teachers learnt that I was trying new stuff and they were like, that's great. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is a good thing. I'll keep trying this thing. And I don't know when it kind of like became more, but yeah.
Did you do? Oh,
sorry, I was just wondering, like, what was the? I guess do you remember like a specific moment, like when you first started? Like, how old were you when you tried songwriting?
First song that's not like really childish and immature.
We all have those.
I don't know. I reckon there was like my school did this really really basic recording session thing for all the year levels 1 year, and you had to audition your songs, and then if you got in, it'd be recorded and stuff. And it was still childish at the time, but there was a song that I wrote probably in year 8 that I guess I see how I started getting a bit more of an understanding of like how to create effective harmonic progressions, putting melodies over it that make people feel stuff, that kind of thing. I'd probably say around year 8,
Yeah, right. Okay.
Did you do the Kool Skools program?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did. I loved it. Oh my God.
Katie actually has an award for one of her songs.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I would have absolutely worshipped you back in year 8. That was like the ultimate Kool Skools award.
It was in my final year, and I didn't get to make like there was like that when you go to the awards show night thing. I don't know. I even missed like the final graduation thing because I was overseas, but someone Snapchatted me. I don't know.
It's like,
Snapchat.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God.
Snapchat. It's like you became that really one person that's just like, oh yeah, I've won the award and I'm not going to show up to my graduation. Like I'm not even going to receive the award.
Just beyond it now.
Like,
I actually almost broke it last night, so it's funny that we'd be talking about this. Our door is very broken, and I was trying to move it, and then I smacked the award, and it went.
Oh.
But she's okay.
She's okay.
I do remember you telling the story of how you were trying to climb a mountain and then you got the message and you're like, I'm so motivated to climb this mountain now.
It was
I
that
can
day.
do anything.
It was literally that day. And then I was like hyperventilating as I was going up that mountain because I was really unfit, I'm guessing. Yeah.
It's like the mind is in the right spot, but the body can't keep up.
Well, I mean, you'd also be higher, right? So like you just lose
altitude.
lack of oxygen.
The more I'm like...
even more. Although, if you hyperventilated, wouldn't you be having too much oxygen?
So anyway...
So how many years did you do Kool Skools for?
I did the first Kool Skools in year 8. I did the first one in year 8.
Yeah.
And then we did it, I think, a couple more times after that, between that year and graduation.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Makes me real sad because I don't even know what this Kool Skool thing is.
It was just an opportunity for like, to go into a recording studio and make some original songs.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Did you do it in Collingwood, Studio 52? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure whether that was the one studio that everyone used.
I think it was, and then it closed down. And then,
Strange thing, years later, I saw a guy who mixes there. I just saw him in a cafe when I was on my break at uni. And I didn't say anything. I was so close, but I didn't. I was scared. Anyway, that was a tangent.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you did Kool Skools in high school. Did you went on to go VCE music and
So I did I did normal music too. I did that a year earlier to get it out of the way because I wanted to give everything to the VCE. To the vet music, the vet course.
Yeah.
Just because that was more industry focused, and because I had done lessons for a long time, I was really, I guess, fatigued with the formality of it.
Yeah.
And I was losing my love for it a bit, so I wanted more industry focus.
Yeah.
Cool.
I wanted to, I guess, expand that. And for MIS, I'm calling it MIS. We called it MIS at school. I'm not sure. I think it used to be a name for it, but for the vet music program, I did all originals. And that was, I guess, the kickstart into it.
Yeah, and
into gigging and stuff. Yeah.
So it was like doing like all the tech stuff and like learning to produce yourself and everything.
Yeah.
Did you find that really beneficial to have like before leaving high school?
Well, the best thing it gave me is it made me realize what I wanted to do after high school. I'd always had in mind to go just do a music degree, and I would have loved it. I'm sure I would have loved it, and I would have improved so much, would have been much more technical than I am now. But same thing, I was so exhausted with the formality of instrumental lessons because I picked up other instruments and stuff at school, and I just got a bit tired of it. Yeah. And so I decided to do the music industry course at RMIT and I guess shift the focus onto a more practical business approach to it all.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, because it's definitely such an important tool to be able to know how to do a lot of that tech stuff yourself and to understand it from an engineer's point of view and kind of be like, this is what it's like working in the industry. Yeah. This is how to, present yourself very professionally as well. And so when you are out and doing gigs and everything, like you can communicate effectively with the engineer and have things go a lot more smoothly than if you had like no idea what's going on. If you just like show up on stage and just like why can't I hear anything and stuff like that. Yeah. So what was that course like at RMIT?
It was good. I won't go too much into it just because I don't really want to talk too much about a specific degree. But yeah, it was good. It gave me practical knowledge of the industry. Best thing out of it though was just the networking.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the networking, actually, how did you? I want to know, how did you two meet?
So
was it during this time or?
I'm not sure. Which year were you?
It would have been at the end of 2017. Yeah.
So at the end of 2017, I was doing my capstone project for uni called Live on the Soundstage, which we've discussed before. And my good friend Nick Elliott was helping me kind of like gather around some acts to to perform because I didn't really know a lot of Melbourne musicians. I obviously had a lot of, engineer friends because we were all engineers in the course. But like musician friends is like, it was hard to kind of like get people from the country and stuff to commit to coming to the city. So Louise was one of the acts for that project. And I was just, it was really, really great experience for both myself, and I hope it was a good experience for you too.
Yeah, I loved it. It was so exciting. It was the first proper gig I did that wasn't like an open mic kind of scenario. So it was a great experience. And really glad that my first gig was with someone like you, and not like some sexist, guy working behind the desk
And what I loved about that project, like I didn't actually know that until today. But it was also Caitlin's first kind of act outside of an education kind of scenario, and I'm just so honored to be able to present like these artists and give them something to work with, give them a stage to perform on, and give them assets in the end as well. Because I'm not sure if you guys know Thomas Heaton. He's pretty big at the moment, and his song his song was actually featured in Heartstopper, the TV show on Netflix.
Oh, cool.
He was one of the acts at Live on the Soundstage too.
Oh, good on you. Go you.
I feel very honoured to have like known him like a few years
Manifesto.
before that. So that was such a fun project, and I'm glad that we got to work on it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
I really had no idea because you seem like such an experienced kind of musician.
It's all just an act. Right, fake it till we make it.
But it was really great. Like you presented yourself very professionally, and I think that course would have like given you that knowledge of how to approach, like how to work with me, and communicating before, during, and after.
I would say the opposite, because I did the course after that experience. I think doing that little experience with you gave me like knowledge going into the course and going into further gigs. So I'm going to say the opposite. I think it was such a great experience to set up. My gigging life.
I've got that timeline wrong, but that's okay.
no, I'm trying to.
Yeah, but that's fantastic. And like one of the things I've talked about before is like in Melbourne, when you're doing more gigs and stuff, like it's so good, so important to like know how to conduct yourself professionally and be someone who people want to work with. So it's been really great to have worked with you and to have you again on the podcast. Like I'm really glad that you, like I just kind of like brought it up with you. I had a gig one time. I was like, hey, do you want to be on the podcast? And you're like, sure. I was like, so it's glad today's finally here. It's really nice to have you.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah. So you've got an EP that you've released. When was that? A little bit ago.
October 2021.
Yeah. So do you want to describe like the process of like the conception of that?
Sure.
And
writing and
Sure. Yeah. So I started. The writing period for these songs was over the course of a few years. Went into production with a great friend who I met at uni, Maddie Seavers, who does incredible, beautiful orchestration stuff. So we both sort of met each other at uni, and I had a history of orchestration at school. It was for a while, it was the career path I wanted to take, and was entering a bunch of orchestration competitions and stuff like that, and I loved it. And I really, really wanted to do this EP with someone who would be just as nerdy over like, let's put a cymbalum at the end of this song and put like obscure instruments in it and stuff like that, and also who I felt I could, I guess, trust with the knowledge to work with orchestrations and stuff, because I don't have, the most amazing software for the orchestrations. I'm starting on a piano and arranging everything on a piano, and then putting basically the piano MIDI and labeling it different instruments, and then handing it over to him. And I needed someone who's going to be like, I know exactly like how to make this come alive. And he was just phenomenal with it. Like he just knew exactly how to produce it so that it sounded exactly how I wanted it to be in my head, and I can't thank him enough for that. So that's, I guess, more of the production side of creating it.
Yeah, that's really interesting because Pat was just listening to it before.
Don't call me
and I
out.
was like, he's like, are those real strings? Are those real instruments?
No, that was. I mean, I was like, I'm not sure if it. I'm assuming it isn't.
It's not. We were
Yeah.
in lockdown.
Yeah.
So we were doing it
Yes.
by distance.
Yeah, I was
Yeah. So
wondering.
the only like quote
was
unquote
wondering.
real thing like that's in it are the vocals and the piano. Yeah, that's it. And then the rest was produced.
And it's incredible to hear that you've just managed to get like a really massive sound of like
Oh, that's what we were all
Yeah.
about. We just wanted to be really, really big.
Yeah.
Because I'm dramatic.
It's like an ocean, waves and waves.
It's very.
You guys are lovely.
I mean, it's very reminiscent. Again, just Damien Rice.
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah.
That third. Or
The
even
third, the ballad one.
My favorite.
Very Damien Rice. That was the first one of all the EP. That's the earliest written song. So that would have been closer to my period of like being a bit younger and obsessing over Damien Rice and like him being my main source of inspiration. And then I guess it kind of diversified later on with the songs, and you can hear that coming in.
And I guess with your, I guess as well, it's sort of a bit like it does because you have on your Spotify you've listed your influences as Damien Rice is one of them, Bon Iver. I'm trying to remember the other ones. There's a couple
I think
of them.
Bjork's on there.
Actually, I think that was there. Yeah.
Bjork's on there. I love Bjork. I can't remember who else was on there. Oh, piano player Tori Amos.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like, what would you say now? Like that was your influence sort of back then, I guess.
Yeah.
Sort of maybe persisting a little bit now. But what about currently? Who are you mainly
Currently,
listening to? Who inspires you? I guess.
I mean, just like a go-to artist is 1975. The past year or so, I think that's especially been during lockdown because they
the soundscapes and the energy is
and the fact that I love I do love simplicity and minimalism. However, I'm very inspired by, I guess, that maximalist approach to music. And artists like the 1975, even their most gentle ballads, have this kind of maximalist approach where they want it's exactly what you said. They're like soundscapes.
Yeah.
So you'll have the, maybe some basic chords on a piano and vocals, but the whole thing is just really immersive because you've got this production in the background that's just, really grandiose.
Definitely something that I like listening to your I guess EP, and I'm like that's kind of that sort of I guess maximalist approach is something like I'd like to sort of try getting around eventually.
I think we're at like similar boat. I was like, how did you do this? Where did the orchestra come from?
It's just blending like two of the nerdiest parts of me, I think, and this is just the byproduct of like trying to make it all happen in the one song. But it's what I wanted to do with it. I wanted to bring in the orchestration.
It works pretty well.
And did you say that you were listening to show tunes on the way here? Or did I make that up?
No, I was.
Yeah, because like I feel that bit of that musical theatre, that it's something, I think if you have a background in a bit of it enhances your storytelling, like and just how much do you carry that with you? And
I think I a lot because I teach theatre, so I think it's probably really present in just live performance. I wouldn't say it's like the number one source of I guess inspiration or anything, nothing like that, but quite a heavy influence. I have done shows, especially ones where it's just me and a piano, where I've received like comments afterwards of just like that sounded like really theatre-y. It sounded like it was from a musical. And I take that. I hope it's a compliment. I don't know. I don't care. It's fine. Definitely. So I think it does influence how I perform.
Cool. Do you have a favourite show you've done?
that I've done.
Yeah.
Les Mis was my favorite show I've done, probably because of the people I did it with. Made lifelong friends from doing that show. I was just in the chorus, but it was with a cast of over 100 people. The National Theatre. It was massive. Like,
Whoa.
yeah, I tell you, once you've done like a show where you've got over 100 people doing harmonies on stage all around you, you can't produce minimalist music.
No.
It like changes you forever.
Oh my God. That is so cool.
Yeah.
There's something so therapeutic about so many voices singing together. That's what I always adored about live music. Hence when it was taken away. That was so painful because it does feel healing to be in a room with all these voices, especially when everyone's like, hell yeah, man, I love that song. It's so good.
Yeah, and I think you probably both agree that like that's kind of inspired you to really, when you're going for your own music, like really just stacking on those harmonies and creating lots of different parts.
Vocal stacks, yeah. Absolutely. It's I find it the most enjoyable or like the funnest part of making music is vocal stacks,
Yeah, and you feel the same, Katie?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's that's actually what I did. I have not been writing, but I recently, I don't know, I said to Brandon, I'm like, I'm going to use your computer. And he was away that night. And so I just recorded this session of just kind of batshit random stuff. And then when I got to the harmonies and I was like, throw them all up there. It's so much fun.
It is.
And it brings me joy. And I know that you don't go overkill with the harmonies, but it makes me happy.
Who cares?
Thank
Why not?
you.
Go for it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, some of the biggest pop artists like stack harmonies like crazy, like Taylor Swift and like Ariana Grande.
Oh, yeah.
And
The amount of like takes they would have done in unison, there would be like honestly 10 plus of just the melody just to make it sound massive. So I'm all for it.
Like I've heard stories of Ariana Grande like recording one song. She actually maxed out the amount of tracks you could have in Pro Tools.
That is awesome.
Because she just wanted to keep on stacking and stacking. And they're like, oh no, we can't make any more tracks. But it's okay because Pro Tools recently doubled the amount of tracks it can do.
For Ariana
Just
Grande. Yeah.
Just for her specifically, yeah.
That is so cool.
And another thing I wanted to speak about with your EP, one of my favorite, like some of my favorite parts of them are the most like quiet and delicate parts. And I absolutely adore the contrast to like the really big sounds to go into just piano and vocals and just dying down to just vocals and hearing that kind of like that raw emotion just coming through. It's just something that I feel is so good to hear in music. And I really wish that, like, I know a lot of artists are kind of like doing more like slower songs and more emotional things where it's more minimalistic. And I just wanted to say it's like it's so good to hear that and really good to hear that coming like from different artists. So like again, to bring it up, like Taylor Swift and her latest albums, Folklore and Evermore, just to hear that and just to hear
The vulnerability.
Yeah, the vulnerability in your voice is just something I adore so much. I just wanted to say that.
I think
The lyricism.
but I think though,
Sorry, I cut Pat off.
I think it's because you do have that, those large soundscapes, and then when it just gets stripped back to just your voice and the piano, that's why I think it's as impactful. Because I feel like, even if you had a piece where it was just a song, that's just vocal and piano throughout the whole thing, you could stack a bunch of harmonies, but I feel like it doesn't have quite as much impact possibly.
Yeah.
And that's why you feel it more, I guess, with your music.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it was very busy at one point, and then it's actually just reduced for that one moment, and that's kind of means it has that range that makes it, I guess, more noticeable, I think.
It's
I
got
appreciate that.
dynamics and the contour, and it always feels intentional. And
Absolutely, yes. And something that you've done as well, Katie, with I think especially Apple Sticker Badges, the final section where it dies down and just builds back up to a climax again. It's just so cool to hear.
thank you.
and so unique. And when are we finishing it?
So anyway, I'm doing it again. That's my safety code. I think listening to, because something that trips me up, and I've mentioned this before, is sometimes I see something in my head and I'm like, oh my God, how can I even do that? Oh, and especially I was getting caught up on the MIDI stuff because it's like, I'd love to have like strings and everything, but I was like, here I am playing this string sound and it's like, yeah, but
yeah, literally.
But then like with especially Melbourne musicians and like people like yourself, like when you hear the way that, your passion projects have been like, these creations have been
realized.
Yeah, brought to life. It's like, it is possible. And every time I come across things like that, I'm like, I can do it.
Mate, you want someone who's got the software, who's, able to make it like work with Maddie. A little plug, Maddie Sievers, folks, like amazing producer. If you just, want someone who's got the great software and knows how to use it well.
Let's all just have a course. Can we get them in? come on the podcast, please. We need to listen. Yeah.
Cool. Now we've discussed your EP. Now you've started doing a couple of live gigs.
Yeah.
So when you performed that live on the soundstage, that was your first one.
That was my first one, yeah.
It's just you and your keys.
Yep.
Just, that's it. And it was great to hear, but I've heard that you've started performing with a band recently.
Yeah.
So, see on Instagram because you post the stories with that. Yeah.
So since the release of the EP, I have a full band, which includes a cellist. Although as much as I absolutely love working with her, she's a very accomplished musician and is therefore extremely busy. But yeah, she's still, part of the band, and I get her on stage with me as much as she's available. I love working with the band. It gave me a love for performing, like a new love for performing. It really breathed some life into the shows again. I'd been playing vocal keys gigs for, what would it have been, 3 years, 4 years? 18, 19, 20. Yeah, 3 years straight. That's a lot of time to be alone on stage. And just, I can't express how much I love doing it with other people too.
What would you say to people who are just like accompanying themselves at the moment? What would you say to them to kind of like, encourage them to reach out and start performing with a band?
I mean, the first thing I'd say is just like I absolutely completely value the time I was performing, just me and the piano, because it gave me an individualism, like, so that I'm not completely like dependent on the band, and the band are really just joining me on stage. And so like the first thing I'd say is just like, go you. Like if you're performing alone on stage, it's fucking hard. And it gets really tiring too, because it's all on you. But in terms of getting a band together, like, pick the people you love, you trust with your music. That's really important. You want people who you trust with your music, and you want people who, especially if the question's coming from the point of view of like you're continuing your solo music stuff, but you just want a band to join you. Pick people who respect that too, and that's one reason why I love my band so much, is because they really, really respect that. They don't have any intention of like, I don't know. There's no power struggle at all by no means. So they're just wonderful, respectful people who only want to do the best for my music, and I appreciate that so much. So choose people you trust with your music, and choose people who you trust to respect you as the the artist and the writer. Yeah.
That's really good advice.
That's some really good advice for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Very insightful. I didn't expect that, but really, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Is there any way, like, where did you kind of reach out to these musicians?
Well, the guitarist is my cousin Nick, who worked with Jeremy at Live on the Soundstage.
Hey, Nick.
The drummer I did uni with, Harry.
Nick's bandmate Harry.
Who's also Nick's band. It's all connected. It's disgusting. It's very incestuous. Yeah. There we go. He's in that band. So Nick and Harry are both in that band. Harry's the drummer. Awesome. Winnie, I met. Winnie and I Winnie's the cellist. We have a really lovely backstory. So we both met doing. We first did Top Sound. I think that's what it's called. So it's like. The highest, I guess, scores in the state go and perform in this little thing after VCE. So we met at Top Sound. We got along. It was sweet and stuff. And then we both also did Top Music. So Top Sound is like for those students who did original compositions. Top Music is just for the top performance. But then we met at Top Music and we were like, oh, hey, how you going? And then after all these like top thing events, there's Top Acts, which is just everything. So drama, music stuff. And you get selected from those top events. Certain people get selected to perform the final Top Acts, and we ran into each other at Top Acts. And we just spent the whole day together, and it was really sweet. And then after that, we just kept running into each other at gigs and stuff. We were meant for each other. We're getting married this winter. So that's how I met Winnie. And then there's one more person. And then Rivers is on bass. I did the course because of Rivers, so he did it before me. We were friends before that. He showed me the course at RMIT, and now he plays bass for me in the band. Yeah. Everyone loves Rivers. He's the he's got good stage presence. When people leave the shows now, they go, "Good show. That bass player though, wow." I'm like, yeah.
Is that kind of like a backhanded compliment? It's like,
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Do you feel like that same band? Do you feel like you're going to collaborate in the future if you like on more music, like to have them as session musicians, like in recording?
I'm still, I guess, playing with that. That's a scary part for me because I haven't done that before. Yeah. It's always been very much under my control. I'm all controlling it on a computer. I definitely say yes. They're very accomplished musicians. Yeah. But it is expensive to hire studios. So that's probably the only thing that's like, yeah.
I guess on that kind of note, though, is there any new music coming out?
There is. It's all still in the writing process. I was saying to Jeremy a bit earlier today, haven't touched DAW yet. I want to get all the writing stuff done before I go into production, because I find as soon as I go into production, I start thinking about final product and I start going into business mode, which then stunts the writing.
So in the writing, sorry for interrupting you.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so how do you come about it, lyrics wise, melody wise?
I always write piano first. However, I keep like just like a notes page with lyrics on them. So melodyless lyrics, just for future use. And then I usually write piano first, and whatever feels appropriate to what I've written on piano, I'll start bringing in lyrics that are relevant to whatever story I want to tell.
You said notes first. So is there any? Do you write it on pen and paper, or like?
It just depends what's around.
What's around?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I try not to lose it. Yeah.
How do you come across these stories that you want to tell?
It's usually, I mean, I'm branching out more. That EP that I've released is all very much personal, like experience stuff, to varying degrees of emotionality. We're going to go with that word.
I think it is a word.
Is it a word?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The new stuff, though, I'm drawing a lot from literature. So I've got a song that's become one of my new favourites, which I've performed live a couple of times now, called Devils Don't Exist, which is a quote from a book by C.S. Lewis called The Screwtape Letters.
I've got that on my bookshelf.
I was so excited for you to say you've read it because I don't know anyone's read it. I once said it. I was at a gig and I was like, "Has anybody read The Screwtape Letters?" Silence. I completely killed the vibe.
I've only read 2 chapters.
It's very good,
but it's
very well done.
Very intriguing.
Yeah,
and I heard great things about it.
Yeah, I highly recommend.
So
I'm writing from the perspective of that narrator.
Ooh, cool.
So I loved it. I really did. So I feel like that moving forward's gonna have that kind of approach of writing from literature, because I love reading, is gonna be more relevant for me.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping so, because usually if it's not coming from that, it's coming from a distressing experience.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Do you have a timeline for anything? Like, do you have like the next few months?
I need to get a timeline sorted. Probably this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, there will be a timeline operating soon.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be looking forward to it. And
thank you.
we'd love to have you back on maybe again in the future to discuss, when you got this music out and everything.
That's lovely of you. I'd love to.
Yeah. Any other future plans for in terms of like career and music?
Outside of songwriting, you know what? I think I've just been completely thrown by COVID stuff. Everything still feels a little, I guess, murky in the aftermath.
Yeah.
So everything is very much immediate future. I'm thinking about this year and I'm thinking about the following year. I don't have extensive plans at the moment.
Yeah.
Not like I used to. So, and I'm happier that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just smiling because I'm like, it's just really nice, to hear someone who's like, I'm making these decisions for these reasons. It's just nice because my brain is like.
Is it? What's it like?
It's
One more time.
Yeah.
Go on.
Literally. Gives me a bit of hope. We don't all have to be scrambled artists like me. And I
think it's just part of being an artist. So I'm completely scrambled. Please don't get me wrong. I do not have my shit together. I think it's also just part of like mental health stuff, looking after it. Yeah.
Do you have any advice you would give to someone saying like what Katie's feeling? Like what kind of advice would you kind of give to someone in that position?
Can you summarize what you're feeling? I'm not qualified to do this.
I just get a bit stressed.
Same.
You're pretty stressed most of the time. I think there's a lot of doubt that comes in there, especially in terms of, like, I used to write all the time, especially when I was younger. And then, in the past, like, year, 2 years, I guess COVID actually was a real thing. I fell into a bit of a... And then just having things like work and all these life things that go on. And it's I know that writing and songwriting is my friend, but when it twists and your brain somehow turns it into... like, it's not a safe place anymore. Like when you look at it and you go, man, I suck. It's just sad. So, yeah. But I do love it. Like I said, I had the other day, I just sat down and I tried something different, which is just, ooh, look at these cool, what are they called, Brandon? VSTs? VST? I don't even know. I was like I guess it was letting the sounds inspire me. Because I was big lyrics gal, writing all the time. And then, maybe it was too much drawing from personal experiences, and because the last song I wrote was more of a comedic one, referencing a whole bunch of classical composers.
Yeah.
And Dead Fish. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's about how in playing piano, that's another thing as well. Like I find that I'm always just doing octaves. So that's like the little refrain is, my left hand is such a dead fish. All it ever does is play octaves.
Love it.
That's it. You know, but gotta get back out there. And, you know, things are starting up, the live music. Just got to build that momentum. Yeah.
Speaking of live music, do you want to?
Yeah.
Do you want me to? Do you want to?
Would you like to, Caitlin?
Speaking of live music, something that's really humbling and lovely is that with No Socks, we've met all these people and we're putting on a gig that's kind of showcasing all these people that we've met. And we're going to hopefully keep on doing that. And it's on the 29th of May. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's this Sunday.
This Sunday, yeah.
It's
Coming up.
Yeah.
Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we prepared?
Are we ready?
I mean, you're doing most of the heavy
excited.
lifting. Jeremy, you get to experience Jeremy's first-hand live mixing.
I think I'll be at the door, so you get to experience my customer service. So, yeah.
I'll just be somewhere in the pit.
In the
just
corner?
going,
But coming up this Sunday, the 29th, at the Workers Club in Fitzroy. We love the Workers Club.
Yeah.
We've been there many times. Our very first No Socks gig featuring a range of the very first guests who have been on the podcast. We'd love for you to check it out and come and support us. Our goal is to kind of help the podcast to be a bit more sustainable for us, so we can keep getting guests on, we can invest more in the podcast and new equipment, and hopefully, you know, kind of offer a payment for some people's time to come on and speak, so we can, you know, get even more acts and not feel like we're taking up the time and everything like that. So that'll be very fantastic for us to. So if you're able to, if you're in the area, if you're free, come on down. It'll be really great time. Maybe we'll see you at a future one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Down the line. It'll be really good to have you. But for now, today, thank you, Louise, for coming on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
I've been Jeremy. Pat and Katie, our regular hosts, Brandon and Michaela in the background. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Like, subscribe, follow.
Facebook,
Instagram, YouTube.
Our TikTok.
TikTok is coming. It's meant to be coming. Come on, we're gonna be on trendy with the kids. Come on, Gen Z.
And please follow Louise on.
Absolutely.
Yes,
where can we find your socials?
I'm at Louise Gaul Music on both Facebook and Instagram. I haven't jumped on the TikTok yet. Got to get onto it. And then it's just Louise Gaul on all streaming platforms.
Yeah. Be sure to check out her EP, To Slow Down Time, streaming on all major platforms. It's definitely worth sitting down for and just listening to. I highly recommend it. But for today, that's it. This has been a No Socks podcast. We'll catch you next time.
So 15. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.